So here are my predicted winners in all major categories. Good afternoon, everyone. I am back with my first Oscar video for this coming 2024 Oscar season. And though it's really too early to know anything for sure, but that doesn't stop us from pondering what films we think might do well at next year's Oscars. And so far, we've had Cannes. TIFF will be coming out in a few months, and we have a lot of promising contenders coming out in the next year. So let's just get right into it. Here are my very early Oscar predictions in all major categories and winners. And at the end, we're also going to be jumping into a time machine to take a look at my previous predictions from last year to see how accurate or how dead wrong I was. But let's just jump right into it, starting with the first one, the big one, Best Picture. All right, Best Picture. So last year, at this time, the Best Picture winner was already in theaters for months, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was very unusual for a film to be released that early and ended up winning Best Picture. Now, I don't think currently we have an Everything Everywhere All at Once as of right now. If we did, the closest movie we have is Past Lives, right? Don't know if it really meets that level of passion and enthusiasm. Actually, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But people do love the film a lot, so it does have passion there. So if there was an Everything Everywhere, that would be it. But after looking at many potential options, this is what I'm thinking. I don't think we have an Everything Everywhere All at Once as of right now. But if we did, the closest movie we have is Past Lives, right? It doesn't really meet that level of enthusiasm that Everything Everywhere did, but I would say there's a lot of passion for it nonetheless. So after looking at many other potential options, here's what I'm thinking and predicting. I have at number one, I have Alexander Payne's The Holdovers. Now, I remember being a little boy, buying a pack of mint Oreos from Target and sneaking into a little movie called About Schmidt, and it was one of my first memorable experiences seeing an art film. And it was honestly like an eye-opening experience for me. Payne's work has always meant a lot to me, so there might be some personal bias here, but I do have a legitimate reason as well for putting this number one. So last year during TIFF, it was reported that one of the biggest, hottest deals that was made at the festival was actually The Holdovers. And it was a closed-door deal, $30 million to focus. It didn't screen publicly, but clearly there's a lot of faith in this movie. So those who haven't heard of this movie, what this is it's apparently a drama about a disliked teacher who's put in charge of supervising a smart, kind of rebellious student unable to journey home for Christmas. That's what I read that the film was about. Alexander Payne is reteaming with Paul Giamatti from Sideways. It's not written by Alexander Payne. However, it's written by a guy named David Hemmingson, who I guess has mostly TV experience. So this is going to be his first feature film. So another reason I'm putting this number one is short of downsizing, that movie that came out a few years ago, Alexander Payne has a pretty good track record with the Academy, and it isn't some, abstract idea. This is a grounded film. So Alexander Payne currently has 2 Oscars and has been nominated 7 times before downsizing his last 3 films. Nebraska, Descendants, Sideways, boom, all nominated for Best Picture. So that's why I have it currently at number one. Number 2, I currently have Killers of the Flower Moon because people love Scorsese. Despite him having not the most remarkable track record when it comes to winning Oscars, but the name recognition should help. And I do think there's kind of this overdue factor still around Scorsese, or that he hasn't received enough. And the reviews are great coming out of Cannes. Performances are getting good notices. Apple has it, and they're going to push it like crazy. It's long, though. It's long. It's almost like 3.5 hours. And I'm skeptical, the Academy would ever award something over 3 hours these days, unless it was just one that just flew by. So I don't feel confident it could win, but nominated, yeah, I feel confident it could be nominated. All right, number 3, I have The Color Purple. So this one just feels destined to be the West Side Story. It looks massive. Visually, it looks pretty incredible. So this was currently on the Oscar experts, I think at number 1, and they moved it down on their list. And I'm going to keep it up. I saw the trailer as well. I thought the trailer looked pretty solid to me, so I'm going to keep it there because we know it's going to get a lot of acting nominations. The original Color Purple received, I believe, 11 Oscar nominations, including 3 acting nominations. The play in which the film is based on got like 10 Tony nominations. So I don't have full faith that a musical could win on a preferential ballot or be like a consensus pick. But I do feel pretty good that this is going to get in picture because it's just going to hit so many crafts, and I think it's going to hit acting categories. So right now I have it at number 3. So Blitz Bazawule is the director of this. I was relatively unfamiliar with his work. He's a music artist with limited feature film experience. However, I think this project will highlight all of his skill sets and will probably be a really good launch pad to get into that Oscar club. So I'm putting this at number 3 right now. At number 4, that's where I have Past Lives. Currently, this is like the film Twitter's choice film right now. This is a film that has a lot of enthusiasm that could maintain to the end of the year. Again, though, the reason why this is number 4 is because this is not Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know, that was kind of an explosion of creativity. This one is more of a slow burn. So I can see this taking a very similar path that maybe like Minari did, where it's like, you know, picture, director, screenplay, actress, maybe actor. That's what I can see probably for the film. At number 5, I have Zone of Interest. This premiered at Cannes. Incredibly high score on Metacritic, currently like a 98. It feels very much like the Tar of this year. Like it's the high art piece. You know, a lot of foreign voter support, I imagine. It's a Holocaust film, so it's about, you know, very important subject matter. But I heard it takes a very like unique, outside the box, traditional angle on the subject. It's experimental to a degree, but it is by A24, which smashed it last year. So number 6, I have Dune Part 2. That just feels very safe after the first one. I kind of feel like in terms of winning, I don't see it. Sci-fi is always like a tricky genre to get like mainstream appeal, and it's also just people are going to be aware that a third one is coming down the road. So they'll likely, I think, just wait and pull a Return of the King, kind of just award the entire trilogy instead of awarding, you know, the second film. So at number 7, I have Oppenheimer. This just looks like Dunkirk more than Tenet or Interstellar, which performed much better at the Oscars. So this one could really overperform more than we're expecting, or more than I'm expecting. Nolan often makes very male-centric films, so I don't know if it's going to be enough to win, but I think it can overperform for sure. So number 8, I have Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things. So I have faith in Yorgos Lanthimos. I think he's very much in the club, and I think it's a little too early to dismiss the film just based on how crazy it looks and maybe the book that it's based on. Could it be totally too artsy? Probably, yes, maybe for the Academy, but I think Yorgos just has become a name that directors respect, and if it gets good reviews, I think the Academy will see it as just being creative and imaginative and not so much weird. I think the one thing that really worries me about Poor Things is more so that there's, you know, the 2 major actors in there who aren't really known for like their dramatic work. So that would be really my concern of why I don't know if this is going to be like Best Picture. All right, number 9, I have Maestro. This is Bradley Cooper's biopic about the composer Leonard Bernstein. I heard early test screenings haven't done pretty well so far. However, there's a lot of heavy hitters behind the film, so it could be big, or it could be this year's like J. Edgar. Time will tell. And at number 10, that's where I have Saltburn. This is from the director of Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell, who recently won an Oscar for her screenplay for Promising Young Woman. It has Rosamund Pike, Barry Keoghan as the lead, and it's inspired, I heard, from like talented Mr. Ripley. So we really only have like Promising Young Woman to go by. But the idea of like Barry Keoghan playing some creep like Tom Ripley, it's like perfect casting for him. So next, right outside as other potential players, I have Next Goal Wins. I don't see a lot of faith in this one, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't, you know, disregard crowd pleasers or underdog stories, especially one by an actor like Michael Fassbender and Taika Waititi, previously an Oscar winner. It's getting released during prime time in early November, so I mean, it looks like it can be a really rousing, funny, sweet film. A lot of diversity in it. So yeah, I can't throw Next Goal Out wins. It just sounds like a movie that people are going to love. So number 12, that's where I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So clearly, like, it's been, a box office and critical smash. The issue that lies with the film are the usual ones, right? Animation film popping up Best Picture doesn't happen that often. And the superhero factor, the only film to really be nominated for Best Picture, superhero film, Black Panther. It's not impossible that it'll get nominated for Best Picture. It's very possible. Like, if voting were to happen today, yeah, it would obviously get in. But we'll have to see down the road. We'll have to see in a year how well Spider-Man is remembered and revered. All right, and number 13, that's where I have It's a Barbie Girl in a Barbie World. It's really Greta Gerwig that's really having me have this at this spot. I don't think she would ever make something without purpose, something like Barbie especially, without some sort of like deeper meaning. I know people are really excited for this film. It could just be like a bubblegum blockbuster that's just kind of cute and funny, not really Oscar. But the production design looks incredible. So I don't know. It's a big mystery, but I can't really recall a film that's been nominated for Best Picture that really resembles Barbie. And I don't know. I have a hard time seeing Oscar voters passionately writing down Barbie. Barbie's my favorite film of the year. So for that reason, I have it at number 13. The Killer I have at number 14. I don't think this is being taken as serious as most people should be, I think. It's based off a graphic novel. It's about an assassin, which I think that's probably the reason why people think it is not Oscar material. But Fincher has a pretty decent track record. Not the best, but it's good. Out of the last 5 films, 3 of them received Best Picture. And I would argue that the other 2, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, it was pretty close. So, I don't know. Fincher, I think, could elevate the comic book material artistically to something that the Academy may possibly respond to. And when you got Michael Fassbender and Tilda Swinton working together, yeah, that could definitely work. Number 15, that's where I have Anatomy of the Fall. It was the winner of the Palme d'Or. And looking at the previous winners, we got like Triangle of Sadness, Titan, Parasite, Shoplifters, The Square. Out of the last 11, only 4 resulted to a Best Picture nominee. But with the new, influx of foreign voters, we could be seeing this more and more. It could be a new trend. Director Justine Triet isn't a household name over here in the States as much as, Bong Joon-ho was and Ruben Östlund. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I heard great things about Anatomy of the Fall, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. All right, and then outside of that, this is my 16 through 30. I won't talk about every single one of these because then this video would be like 12 hours long. But yeah, this is my 16 through 30 with May December being at number 16 and then that Bob Marley project. And the rest I kind of just filled in with what I thought was interesting. But I do have 1001 at 21. Like that's one that I'm thinking more and more can have a comeback. All right, well that was Best Picture, but let's move on to Best Actor. Okay, moving on to Best Actor. Number 1, I have Bradley Cooper for Maestro. 4 acting nominations for Bradley Cooper. Has never won. He has such an overdue factor when it comes to awarding him. And this is a transformative role. It's a passion project from Bradley Cooper. So I could see this easily getting nominated. And right now it seems to have the most transformative, visually transformative performance, which did really well for Brendan Fraser last year for The Whale. Number 2, I have Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. This is because it's getting good reviews out of Cannes. Some saying it's his best performance like ever. Some saying it's his best performance in many years. So that's why I have it at number 2. Paul Giamatti, I have it for The Holdovers because he's an incredible actor. He wasn't nominated for Sideways, if you can believe that shit. He was actually only nominated one time for like Cinderella Man, a supporting role. So because I'm predicting Holdovers as number 1, I'm just kind of predicting that if that's going to be number 1, then obviously it's lead actor Paul Giamatti is going to be brought in with it. So that's why I have it number 3. Number 4, that's where I have Cillian Murphy because he's just a very interesting character actor. It's a massive leading role playing a real life person, which is always good for Oscars. So I think Cillian Murphy has a really heck of a good chance. So that's why I have it at number 4. And then I have Coleman Domingo at 5. This should be a big year for Coleman. He's got Rustin and The Color Purple. Again, another real-life person, gay civil rights activist Bayard Rustin. I think what helps Colman Domingo is that Bayard Rustin has a really distinct voice that can be impersonated, which I think really helps. You know, I'm thinking like Jamie Foxx for Ray Charles and Ray, or Truman Capote and Capote. It's a distinct character that he could really dig into, and people can go, oh wow, you really sound like him. So I'm not sure, you know, what like the meat and potatoes of the story will be specifically, but it should be a very interesting character. So number 6, that's where I have Barry Keoghan for Saltburn. Again, playing a talented Mr. Ripley-like character. By the way, I just saw Killing of a Sacred Deer for my first time, believe it or not, and holy freaking cow, like he is such a massively talented actor and so effectively creepy and nuanced. So Barry Keoghan has the potential to be like the next Joaquin Phoenix in the upcoming years. Number 7, that's where I have Michael Fassbender actually for Next Goal Wins. And the reason why really is because he has 2 potential movies, and I'm just betting on one of them really hitting. Also, it's going to be a crowd pleaser. He's playing a coach. Jason Sudeikis won like 30 Emmys for Ted Lasso, right? So why not one of our greatest actors? Number 8, that's where I have Kingsley Ben-Adir for Bob Marley, One Love. This may be too low. Maybe I should switch it with Michael Fassbender, but you know, it's from the director of King Richard. But I just keep thinking of last year's Whitney Houston movie, I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I'm getting that same feeling. All right, number 9, that's why I currently have Teo Yu for Past Lives. Now, I don't know whether he'll be running lead or supporting. If A24 runs him lead, you know, that would open the door for John Magaro for supporting. So number 10, I have Anthony Hopkins for Freud's Last Session, recent winner, playing a real life person, Anthony Hopkins. So yeah, number 10. Number 11, I have Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon. It's Joaquin Phoenix, say no more. He's playing a real life person. He's gonna have a big hat. It's Ridley Scott though. His movies are hit and miss, but he's pretty good at the period piece genre, so it's possible. Number 12, I have Michael Fassbender again for The Killer. It's a David Fincher film playing against Tilda Swinton. Fassbender has 2 previous acting nominations, including Steve Jobs, which practically got like no other nominations except Winslet. So that should be a sign that they like him. Number 13, I have David Strathairn from A Little Prayer. Saw he got some good notices, and some describe it as a career best when it screened at Sundance, so that's why I have him number 13. Number 14, I have Tom Hardy for The Bike Riders. This is directed by Jeff Nichols, who hasn't directed a film since 2016. The film is about, you know, like a motorcycle gang, which sounds perfect casting for Tom Hardy. So that's why I have him number 14. Number 15, that's where I have Lakeith Stanfield for The Book of Clarence. This is from the director of Harder They Fall. It's, from what I heard, like a biblical action movie. Stanfield has been nominated once before, and he's really great in movies like Sorry to Bother You, so you never know. But that was Best Actor, but what are my predictions for Best Actress? All right, Best Actress at number 1, I have Fantasia Barrino. She plays Celie. Feels very much like Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls. She's gonna do some singing, so yeah, why not? Number 2, that's where I have Greta Lee. She's just fantastic in Past Lives. I feel pretty confident she'll be nominated, so that's why I have her at number 2, winning. She might even win. Number 3, I have Emma Stone for Poor Things. I think Emma Stone's a fantastic actress, and it's Yorgos Lanthimos. I think she gave her best performance working with Yorgos Lanthimos and The Favorite. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with Poor Things, because I'm thinking Poor Things might also be a hit. And number 4, I have Natalie Portman, May December. She's an actress that has been nominated a few times by now. She has an Oscar. I heard that she's one of the standouts in May December. So that's why I have her at number 4. All right, number 5, that's where I have Sandra Huller for Anatomy of a Fall. I haven't seen the film. Heard she's fantastic. I have a hard time, though, imagining that she'll get in, but the film as a whole will miss. I kind of feel like it needs Best Picture. However, Penelope Cruz just did that with Parallel Mothers last year, so maybe not. Number 6, that's where I have Carey Mulligan. You know, it's only a matter of time before she wins. So that's why I got her at number 6. Number 7, that's where I have Tiana Taylor. Now, I think people have this one too low. I think this could easily kind of come back around as a passion pick. Currently, it's my favorite female performance of the year. So a little bias there. So I'm rooting for it. It's not your simple, like, run-of-the-mill, struggling mother doing whatever she can for her son, you know, movie. It's not like that. It's way more complex, and Tiana smoothly kind of transitions her character through many years, and it's a really solid performance. Hope it gets nominated. Number 8, that's where I have Annette Bening for Naiad. It's about the 64-year-old swimmer who attempts to swim from Cuba to... I don't know why I needed to show you. I think you know what swimming is. Needed to swim from Cuba to Florida. This is directed by that married team more known for their documentary work like The Rescue and Free Solo. But talk about overdue. Bening, nominated 4 times, hasn't won yet. So yeah, I have her at number 8. Number 9, I have Margot Robbie for Barbie. She's always a contender. Barbie looks like it's destined to be a smash. Her character is the name of the movie, so that helps. All right, number 10, that's where I have Kaylee Spiney, I think is what it is. Correct me in the comment section if I got that wrong. But the movie is about the relationship between Presley, Elvis Presley, and Priscilla Presley. And we just had an Elvis movie, obviously, last year. So this movie could be like an antidote to some of the criticisms of Elvis last year, where the story wasn't really covered in any depth. So to speak, but A24 is behind the film. Priscilla's daughter also just died, so that could be an emotional factor to her getting nominated. So I have that at number 11. Number 12, I have Jane Levy for A Little Prayer. Again, saw some good mentions from the reviews from Sundance, so that's why I have her there. 12, Kate Winslet. She's Kate Winslet. Lee is by a director with not a lot of director experience, which is why she's not as high in these predictions. I think it's about a model who becomes a war journalist in World War II. So it sounds interesting. All right, number 13, I have Zendaya for Challengers. People love Zendaya. So, hey. And Luca Guadagnino directing. I could see this hitting. Maybe. I heard it's also really about awful people, though, so... who knows if it's going to turn off Oscar voters. But even if Zendaya is playing a dislikable character, she's still somehow likable. So, number 14, I have Vanessa Kirby for Napoleon. I noticed she got a lot of good notices for her film, The Last Duel, directed by Ridley Scott as well. So, why not? And number 15, that's where I have Jessica Lange. She's definitely a legend. The role is iconic. Lange won a Tony in 2016 for this exact role. Directed by the same director who directed that show. So this could be a Viola Davis, Fences situation. The director is more known for his theater and opera work, from what I understand. And this is his first director debut. Okay, well that was Best Actress, but let's move on to Best Supporting Actor. Okay, Best Supporting Actor, William Dafoe. I'm just going to put him number 1 until he wins an Oscar. So this is my very early prediction last year. So I might as well keep it the same. I hear the role is not a significant one, and his face is kind of mangled in the trailer. But Dafoe is not a stranger to the weird movie genre. So I think he could really excel working with Yorgos. So that's why I have him at number 1. Number 2, I have Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, reunited with Scorsese. He's getting some great mentions as being one of his strongest performances in decades. Don't know if that's enough to win, but it's definitely enough to be a top 3 contender. Coleman Domingo, I have The Color Purple, just banking on the idea that he'll have a great year. Maybe even a double nomination year like Jamie Lee Foxx that year. He was nominated for Ray and Collateral. Could see that happening for him. The original role on Broadway wasn't nominated for a Tony. Neither was Danny Glover in the original film. But, you know, maybe he'll bring some stellar dramatic acting that really stands out in the setting of a musical where everyone else is singing. And number 4, that's where I have Ryan Gosling for Barbie. Ryan Gosling in Barbie is an interesting one. He's basically a meme and his role is iconic at this point. And the film hasn't even come out yet. He's definitely overdue because he's been nominated a few times and hasn't won. So yeah, this could be like, all right, let's give it to Gosling because it's a juicy comedic supporting role and he steals the show from what I hear. So yeah, maybe he gets in. Yeah, that's kind of a question mark for me. So number 5, that's where I have Jesse Plemons for Killers of the Flower Moon, similar to kind of a few years ago. This is going to be like Power of the Dog Part 2, just nominated for maybe really solid supporting work. Number 6, that's where I have Brian Tyree Henry. He was nominated last year for, what was that movie called? Causeway, right? And I think that was a surprise for many people. And I think this one he plays a boxing coach, so it could be major supporting actor potential. Number 7, that's where I have John Magaro for Past Lives. He just did an amazing job in the movie. So if TOU runs in this category, though, I can easily see Magaro kind of being edged out. But his character is like multi-dimensional and likable. Number 7, Charles Melton from May December. Saw him getting some good notices out of TIFF, so that's why I put him there. Number 9, I have Richard E. Grant for Saltburn, recently nominated actor, so why not throw him in there. Number 10, that's where I have Matt Damon for Oppenheimer. If the movie's a big hit, I could easily see him being kind of carried away with the film, especially with the success of Air. That might help. Number 11, Samuel L. Jackson, Piano Lesson. It's based on an August Wilson show. Samuel L. Jackson was just nominated for a Tony for this role. It's directed by Denzel Washington's son, not John Washington. His name is Malcolm Washington. So yeah, I could see maybe Samuel L. Jackson. He's overdue as well. And then I have number 12. This one is, I'm not seeing on pretty much any predictions, Josiah Cross. But I thought he was fantastic in the film. And if the film kind of swings back later in the year and people fall in love with it, I can see a world where he comes along for Best Supporting Actor. And he definitely has an Oscar clip towards the end of the film for sure. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and put Josiah Cross in there. Number 13, that's where I have Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. Maybe Mark Ruffalo should be a little higher. I mean, I got William Dafoe at number 1. But, you know, Ruffalo, been nominated 3 times, has never won. He's working with a caliber director. I hear it's a pretty sizable role. So yeah, Mark Ruffalo, why not? Number 14 and 15, I have Austin Butler and Michael Shannon for The Bike Riders. I'm just banking on the idea that The Bike Riders is just a good one and one that really showcases the acting. And I could see really either one of those actors just having like a really juicy scene as kind of like a gang biker. So yeah, and also Austin Butler just coming off of Elvis, Michael Shannon, overdue. So yeah, I think that's pretty safe. All right, well that was Best Supporting Actor, but now let's go over to Best Supporting Actress. Okay, Best Supporting Actress. Number 1, I have Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. So the TIFF reviews have just rolled in saying that she just gives an award-worthy performance. If there was one actor right now that I feel the most sure is going to be nominated, it would be her. I think there's a good chance she might come out as a front runner and just probably like stay there the entire season. So that's why I have her at number 1. Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, I have it number 2. She'll play Sophia in the musical. She was nominated for a Tony playing the same role. So yeah, I think she could be nominated in this category. And then number 3, I have Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Now, since I have the film ranked number 1, I have to put this in there. And she was great in Dolomite Is My Name. She's been nominated for a Tony as well. So in The Holdovers, she plays a school cook whose son died in the Vietnam War. So I imagine her role will have like a very good dramatic scene. And if there's room for her to be funny, I could see that being kind of a winning recipe. Number 4, Taraji B. Henson for The Color Purple. She's been nominated once before. She plays Shug, a role that was nominated for a Tony during the original Broadway run. Henson is, you know, gonna be playing kind of like a good mother figure or mentor to the main character. So it has some room to scene steal, and it's very important to the main character. So Yeah, I could see Taraji B. Henson also getting nominated. Number 5, I have Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. People love Emily Blunt, but she's never been nominated, if you can believe that. She'll play the wife of Oppenheimer, and the real life wife of Oppenheimer is also a biologist herself. So I'm thinking Beautiful Mind, Jennifer Connelly, Alicia Vikander, Danish Girl, Keira Knightley, Imitation Game, like the supportive wife role. However, this one may offer something a little different because Oppenheimer relied in real life on his wife's advice during the Manhattan Project. So I'm keeping my eye out for Emily Blunt. And then number 6, I have Rosamund Pike for Saltburn. I saw Gone Girl again like a week ago. She's so freaking good. I think she was like the solo nominee for that movie. That was otherwise panned, Gone Girl, right? So if Saltburn ends up being a big player, I imagine she'll be nominated as well. Julianne Moore, May, December. Haven't seen it. Very much looking forward to it. The reviews haven't really knocked my socks off, but she's always a solid actress. Also, Todd Haynes, who directed May, December, does have some success on getting actors nominated, even when his films miss Best Picture. I think he had 4 acting nominations from 3 different films. Everything else, I just kind of filled in. There's not a lot to go on, so I did my best just kind of filling in. I got Jodie Foster, Tilda Swinton for The Killer, Viola Davis, Air, best part of the movie. If Air comes back around at SAG, I could easily see Viola Davis kind of popping in there. Lashana Lynch, the Bob Marley biopic. She plays wife of Bob Marley. The actress had a great year last year with Women King and Matilda. Danielle Deadwyler, The Piano Lesson. The original actress that played the character in the Broadway production was nominated for a Tony. And there's a lot of goodwill for Deadwyler after being tragically snubbed last year. So, yeah, maybe that's like a, hey, we're sorry, here's your nomination. Carey Mulligan for Saltburn. And then I have Florence Pugh for Dune Part 2, because why not? If Dune 2 ends up being a big deal, I could see an actor like Florence Pugh go along for the ride. All right, well, that was Best Supporting Actress. Let's move on to our final category, and then I'll get to my very early bold predictions on my winners in all major categories. But first, let's talk director. All right, moving on to Best Director. All right, so these ones I'm just going to rip right through them because we've already talked about a lot of these films already. But number 1, I have Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Guy's been nominated 9 times. He won once. Feels pretty likely he'll be nominated for this. Number 2, Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. I could see Denis win the category. Often tech directors win this category. He was famously snubbed, and there could be an extra effort made to make sure that he gets nominated. Number 3, I have Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest, getting the best reviews of his career, it looks like. The director branch seems to be, a very artsy branch. And kind of like how Todd Fields was nominated last year for Tar, I could see this movie taking a very similar path. All right, number 4, I have Alexander Payne. Take away Downsizing. The guy's been nominated for his last 3 films. I'm putting a lot down on this idea that this film will be a player. So that's why I have him at number 4. Number 5, Celine Song for Past Lives. This really depends on how well Past Lives does in other nominations. I can see a world where she misses. This is her first film after all. And I know that the director branch can be very, very exclusive, tight-knit group that doesn't just let first-timers in often. Number 6, that's where I put Blitz Bazawule for The Color Purple. We'll see. Depends on how artistic Color Purple is. His feature film experience is limited, so I'm not sure how open, again, the director branch will be. It's got to be a home run for him to get in, I think. Number 7, that's where I have Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. He was nominated twice before. Oppenheimer looks more in line with the type of work that he gets nominated for, like Dunkirk, so he's at number 7. Number 8, Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things. He's a very artistic director, and the director's branch, I'm sure, loves him, so he's at number 8. All right, number 9, I have Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, just like how Ruben Östlund was nominated for Triangle of Sadness. All right, and then I have number 10, I have Emerald Fennell for Saltburn. She was nominated once before. It was a pandemic year. I think she has an Oscar for a screenplay. Promising Young Woman was, a major surprising hit with the Academy, so she could definitely do it again. Number 11, Greta Gerwig, Barbie. She's a household name at this point. She's done the Directors Roundtable, nominated once for Lady Bird. Yeah, it's possible. Number 12, David Fincher, The Killer. He has a pretty decent track record. All right, he's been nominated 3 times for director category. Every time he was nominated, his film was also nominated for Best Picture, so he would likely need to get a Best Picture nomination in order to hit director. So this could be more like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where they both miss. Number 13, I have Bradley Cooper for Maestro. Now, this probably won't happen. This probably won't, especially because he was snubbed for Star is Born. So I don't know. But number 13, Bradley Cooper. 14, Todd Haynes, May December. He was never nominated for director before, so I don't think it's likely he'll be nominated. But if the film picks up steam, say like comparable to Marriage Story, then yeah, definitely, maybe. And 15, I have Taika Waititi for Next Goal Wins. You know, again, if the film ends up being a real crowd pleaser, has a special quality to it, it's possible. He wasn't nominated for director for Jojo Rabbit, so it would probably need to surpass the love that people had for that film. Even then, not sure he fits the mold of a typical director's branch pick, but hey, those are my predictions in the 5 major categories. But let's kick it up a notch and let me give you my bold predictions of who I think will win next year's Oscars in every category. Now, last year I made some bold predictions, picking out all the winners in the major categories all the way back in May. I promised we would go back and make fun of those predictions now that we have the final results. So here were the last year's bold predictions 10 months before Oscar evening. My predicted Best Director, I'm bouncing between Spielberg, Damien Chazelle, and Sarah Polley, but I'm actually gonna go with Damien Chazelle. My Best Actor, I could see Brendan Fraser for The Whale, I could see Hugh Jackman for The Son, but let's go with Coleman Domingo for Rustin. Best Actress, I don't really know who to go for here. I feel like, you know, just coming off Promising Young Woman, I'm gonna go with Carey Mulligan with She Said. For Best Supporting Actress, maybe Jessie Buckley for Women Talking or Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, but I'm gonna go with Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. For Best Supporting Actor, I said it earlier, let's go with William Dafoe, baby, Poor Things. Let's go. Best Original Screenplay, maybe Poor Things as well, but I'm actually gonna go with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's gonna come back and win Original Screenplay. For Best Adapted Screenplay, since I'm going for Women Talking for Best Picture, I'm gonna match it up with Screenplay. So Women Talking for Adapted Screenplay. Yeah. So starting with the bad predictions, I predicted Damien Chazelle for Babylon. The movie didn't even get nominated for Best Picture. The Academy pretty much hated Babylon. My thinking was, because I was predicting Women Talking and Picture, they were gonna award, I was thinking at the time, a more technically impressive film as director. And they did. They gave it to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a far superior choice. But yeah, Best Actor, I said maybe Fraser, and then I switched to Coleman Domingo for actor, and then Dafoe for supporting actor. Those movies were pushed to this year. I said Carey Mulligan for She Said. The film wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. However, I nailed screenplay. Both Women Talking and Everything Everywhere All at Once won both of those categories. In last year's video, along with the winners, I also gave some just like general bold predictions. Now remember, this was before the films were released or even having a trailer. So before I give my bold predictions for this coming year, I thought it'd be fun to take a peek at those bold predictions from last year. So this was my bold prediction that I had, for example, for Babylon. My blind bold prediction for Babylon is I think this film will rack up many nominations. I think it'll be very similar to Mank or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm thinking about 9 to 10 nominations. I think it will win cinematography and production design. I think most of us will love it. But for some reason, it will be a film that the Academy voters don't appreciate and respect as much as we do. And for that reason, they will not award it Best Picture. Well, in my defense, I knew it wouldn't win Best Picture. I think I predicted 9 to 10 nominations. It ended up getting 3. And the Academy not loving the film as much as we do, I think that's maybe only partly accurate because I know there is a little fan base for Babylon, but I wasn't expecting the Academy to like hate it. Anyways, but that was the past. I'm a year wiser now. So what films do we think will win based on the little information we have right now? So here are my predicted winners in all major categories. All right, here are my early predicted winners for next year's Oscars. For Best Picture, likely it's gonna be a film we're not even expecting, but I'm sticking with The Holdovers. That $30 million deal is just too interesting for me to ignore. It could be a total goose egg and be just a crowd pleaser, not an Oscar contender, but I'm sticking with it. The Holdovers, Best Picture. Okay, Best Actor, I'm bouncing between a few. I see Cillian Murphy, Coleman Domingo, Barry Keoghan, Paul Giamatti. I think Barry Keoghan might be too soon to win, and I have a weird feeling it's gonna come down to the other 3, and I think Oppenheimer has a good chance at picture, so I'm gonna say Cillian Murphy. Okay, Best Actress is very difficult. I think Greta Lee stands a good chance to win, especially if the film stays in the convo the way Everything Everywhere All at Once did. Tiana Taylor, if that film comes back and people see the performance, I can see a world where I think she stands a chance. Sandra Huller, potentially, but foreign performances infrequently win. But times are changing, so it's possible. But I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm just gonna go with Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. All right, Best Supporting Actress. The one that really stands out is Danielle Brooks in Color Purple, kind of similar to West Side Story, the Ariana DeBose win, right? Emily Blunt is one I think people might be sleeping on. Divine Joy Randolph, because if Holdovers is going to win Best Picture, it's got to win an acting award. However, I have a feeling that Lily Gladstone might be an engine train that just might chug along through the entire season. So that is who I'm going to go with. I'm going with Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. So Best Supporting Actor, this one is tough because I can't really build a solid case for anyone at this point. I have a weird feeling that someone from that movie Bike Riders could stand out. Typically, villains or loose cannons do really well in that category. Ryan Gosling is getting mentions already for Barbie as one who steals the show. Last year, I predicted Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, so I'm just gonna move that right on over, and I'm predicting William Dafoe for Poor Things. Best Director. Now, I tend to pick a director of a film that is a technical achievement or a film that most people will fall in love with. Martin Scorsese, maybe because he's so well respected. Maybe Alexander Payne for The Holdovers if people love the movie, but I have a feeling there will be a lot more detractors for that film, so I'm bouncing between Denis Villeneuve or Christopher Nolan, and I'm gonna save Denis for the third film, and I'm actually gonna go with Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Now, Best Screenplay, I don't want to overthink it. I could see Emerald Fennell for Saltburn, Celine Song for Past Lives. That's a possibility. But if Holdovers is going to win picture, it's got to win screenplay. So if Payne directed it without having even wrote it, one would imagine he saw something in that screenplay. So I'm going to go with The Holdovers. All right, Best Adapted Screenplay. Whew, this one is tough. Maybe Oppenheimer, but I think people really see Nolan as more of a director over a writer. Eric Roth has been nominated 6 times as a writer. The book, Killers of the Flower Moon, was well-respected literature, so I'm gonna go with Killers of the Flower Moon, Best Adapted Screenplay. For cinematography, I'm just gonna say Dune Part 2. Oppenheimer or The Color Purple being my alternatives, but I'm going for Dune Part 2. Editing, going for Dune Part 2. You're gonna notice I'm gonna double stamp a lot for Dune. Whatever it won last year, I have no reason to not predict it this year, so Dune Part 2. Production design, Dune Part 2. Barbie being the alternative, going with Dune though. All right, for score, I'm gonna go with Dune Part 2. I think it's just the safer bet. And sound, here I'm actually gonna go with Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer is going to be really emphasized on the sound. So yeah, let's go with Oppenheimer. So visual effects, I'm going to go with Dune 2. And you might be thinking, damn, you're picking Dune 2 and like everything. might as well predict it in picture. But remember, the first one got like 6 wins on Oscar night, 3 more than the Best Picture winner, so it could still win a lot and still not win picture, so I'm gonna go with Dune in this category. Costume design. Now this one feels like it has Barbie written all over it, so I'm just gonna go with Barbie. All right, makeup, I'm going with the Maestro. Like The Whale last year, going with the Maestro. Animated feature, I think this one's easy. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Whew. All right, international feature. Zone of Interest is kind of like the Son of Saul pick. It was critically well received, so I'm gonna go with Zone of Interest. Anatomy of the Fall is being the alternative. Original song, it's really too early to tell. It could be Jack Black and Peaches, or something from Barbie. I really don't know. I know Gosling has a song called I'm Just Ken, and I know that he's supposedly a stand on the movie. It could be very funny, so I'm gonna go with I'm Just Ken by Ryan Gosling. All right, documentary feature, it's way too early to tell, but piggybacking off the success of Navalny, I'm just gonna go with another documentary related to Russia, 20 Days in Mariupol. Now, if I had to make any bold general predictions, this is what I'm feeling right now. Many are doubting the chances of Poor Things. The favorite received 10 nominations. 10. I don't think Poor Things will maybe do that well, but I do think that it has the potential to get a Best Picture nom and maybe like 6 to 8 nominations. Acting, cinematography, costume, production design. Yeah, keep an eye out for Poor Things. Killers of the Flower Moon will be very similar to The Irishman. I said the same in last year's video. I'm thinking like 10 nominations, but like The Irishman, will likely go home empty-handed with exception of maybe Lily Gladstone. The Color Purple will be really well received, kind of like how West Side Story was. And I think other than maybe one acting win and maybe a tech win, that will be it for the night. I think there's a good chance that Oppenheimer will create almost the same success as Dunkirk, around maybe 5 to 8 nominations, like sound, cinematography, editing, score, picture, and maybe in acting, and maybe director. I think Maestro will struggle in the race. Similar to the movie J. Edgar. I think Bradley Cooper will be praised for acting, however, but I think it will be similar to how well The Whale did with the Academy, around 2 to 3 nominations tops. I also wish nothing but success for all these films, and I predict that I'll be excited to see all of them regardless, but those are my bold blind predictions. So those are my bold, almost year away predictions for next year's Oscars, but now it's your turn. What bold predictions will you be making for next year's Oscars? And what do you think could be next year's big surprise? I always love hearing from you all, and as always, if you want to see more videos about the Oscars, hit the subscribe button down below. For those who don't know, I often conduct many experiments related to the Oscars and have some really fun stuff planned this year. So feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. Follow me on Twitter, Letterboxd, where I post all my thoughts on the movies that I watch. And until next time, everyone, I'll see you at the Oscars. Make it more moody in here.